Hey, good evening here. This is Tim with you. A little stratocumulus out there as cold air advection sweeps in through Texas and Oklahoma. This is our special overnight broadcast. It's 3 a.m. Eastern Time and 12 midnight Pacific, and I'm up kind of at a weird hour because I just woke up a few hours ago. I'm trying to catch up on sleep and trying to fix my circadian rhythm here, and the good thing is I'm pretty well rested, and I think we should be back on track for tomorrow. Hopefully none of these unscheduled program outages again. Texas this evening, here's how it looks. It is cold. We have teens across much of Oklahoma, 14 there at Oklahoma City and 18 at Tulsa. And even Amarillo is in the 12 to 13 range. 27 there for Dallas-Fort Worth. And we've got that northerly flow pushing south across Texas. High pressure looks like it's centered probably up in Kansas and Nebraska. We'll take a look out of New Mexico. Yesterday we talked a little bit about polar air masses working upslope into the higher elevations. And you can see that easterly component here. And Albuquerque getting those canyon winds out there. See those strong winds right there funneling through the mountain passes there. This is kind of like the leading edge of the front, kind of banked up against the mountains. Just now recently pushed through Albuquerque. And west of there you can see the stronger, warmer, milder air. Still gusty though, gusting to 36 there out in Gallup. So the large-scale patterns, they're being caused by this big block of polar air covering much of the country and especially into the Great Basin area right there. You can see the strongest cold air. These are temperature anomalies centered in northern Nevada and Idaho. Temperatures this evening, they were pretty much in the single digits and teens across the northern U.S. And we can see a pretty big contrast out there out west. Las Vegas enjoying a nice 66 there, 71 at China Lake. And you go to the north and highs were in the lower 20s. And we've even got 16 there at Salt Lake City. So that's a big change, and that pretty well demarcates where the frontal zone is. So that's going to fall somewhere in this region right here. And that's probably going to connect back to the Great Plains system. You can see also a very strong temperature difference in New Mexico. Got 20 there at Tucumcari, contrasting sharply with 57 at Albuquerque and 64 at Truth or Consequences in Deming. And even out in West Texas, look at that. Fort Stockton, that's east of the mountains. This is in the higher elevations. So you can see that this is a fairly shallow air mass compared to some of the systems we've seen this winter, and even 78 there at Sanderson. So we're probably looking at the front kind of set up like that. And likewise, we can see 60s here contrasting with the 20s in Colorado. All right, 500 millibar flow across the northern hemisphere. We've got a new chart here that looks pretty good. This is the Canadian surface or the Canadian upper air analysis with a continent overlay that I've developed for it. And this shows the northwesterly flow. Pretty strong into the U.S., and that's what's given us our very cold weather. And the coldest part of it kind of corresponding to this very large trough across the northern U.S. So that troughing there, that kind of indicates where the deepest, coldest part of the air mass is. Out ahead of it, we can see some very strong baroclinicity with the polar front kind of set up like that from about Colorado to the southern Great Lakes. So this is kind of like the storm track, and this corresponds to where baroclinic highs and baroclinic lows are located. And also we can see a bit of a Rex block off the coast. You see that there? Low pressure or low heights south of this cutoff high. That's the meridian right there, corresponding to north and south. So this is a classic Rex block. The polar front jet north of that cutoff high and south of that, kind of a split flow pattern with a cutoff low south of that. And this pattern has been kind of stuck in place for a while, and as long as this block continues, we're probably just going to see more continued northwesterly flow across the central and western U.S. Doing our thermal analysis, thermal band located kind of like this, and also packed in Utah and Colorado. So we've already done our frontal analysis, and we're basically looking for the system basically from the Gulf of Mexico out into the Big Bend area of Texas, and then arcing northward into the Four Corners area. So just pretty much like that. And the sounding, I'm going to do one for Fort Worth. That's going to be a little further back in the cold air. There you go. You can see the little pool of cold air extending up to about 8,000 feet thick. And pretty sharply defined. It looks like the strongest part of the cold air up at about around 925 millibars, about 2,000 to 3,000 feet off the ground. And above that, a rapid warm-up. So we go from about 23 Fahrenheit at about 2,000 all the way up to about 52 degrees up at about 6,000 or 7,000 feet. And if we had more moisture aloft and a stronger cold air advection just above, or warm air advection just above the surface, this would be a very good setup for winter weather and sleet and freezing rain. But we see that this layer here has some fairly dry relative humidity, and so we're not really seeing anything except some high cirrus above this. All right, then the 500 millibar chart, we've kind of gone over that already. This is the vorticity, though, and it shows kind of like the large-scale trough setup and the smaller scale short waves moving through the flow. Okay. Had to check that my soundboard was working correctly. Okay, let's go back, and I guess we're pretty much done. Look at the radar real quick, and snow showers across Oklahoma there, mostly in the I-40 corridor from Oklahoma City to Fort Smith and to the Clinton, Arkansas area. And it looks like a little bit more convective development over the Klein's Corner, Las Vegas, Tucumcari area of New Mexico. Let me bring up AWIPS and see if that's showing a bit of this. Yeah, here we go. We'll zoom in on those snow showers, and they've got that texture, that fibrous texture that's indicative of ice crystals. And there's the more showery pattern right there in New Mexico. Okay, let's go ahead and go forward with the models. We'll look at the GFS here. Let me get that centered for y'all. Okay, so the main baroclinic low located in the Four Corners area, and that's helping to trigger that showery conditions, those showery conditions as we get that strong isentropic lift above the frontal surface and destabilization, and that's a good setup for convective showers in that area just above the frontal boundary. So we're going to see that low kind of fill there in New Mexico as the main upper air system moves across the cold dome. So we see it kind of disappearing here and redeveloping back across eastern Texas. So by the time we do the forecast for tomorrow, and I do expect to be back on our usual schedule, we're going to be looking like this. Some residual snow showers around Shreveport into the Red River area of Texas, a little bit of sleet showing in south of Jackson out to Montgomery, Alabama. And the main Bear Clinic system is moving out into the Gulf here, as I mentioned. High pressure moving into Texas. So it's going to be kind of a cold day tomorrow, probably a good freeze on Saturday morning. And then for our webcast on Saturday, high pressure covering most of the central and eastern U.S. The main frontal system moving out into the Atlantic right there. And it's going to be kind of a calm day here. Sunday, kind of a similar situation, high pressure, but starting to get a little warm air advection developing across the Great Plains here. It's going to be kind of cold, but warm air advection taking place, and maybe a little bit of cloud developing in some of these areas where we have enough relative humidity. Out ahead of that, looks like a new Alberta Clipper system coming southward, being driven by this high way up to the north. There's that high. There's the Alberta Clipper. And then on Monday, for our webcast, it looks like that Clipper kind of fades away as we get very strong cyclogenesis out in the high plains. So it looks like we have more of a quasi-stationary front out there. And now, yeah, that picks up into a frontal system on Tuesday. So maybe not so stationary there, maybe an active cold front sweeping southward through the plains there. So this is going to be a system mostly for the Great Lakes area, and the cold front will be coming dry through Texas. For Wednesday's webcast, we're going to be looking at the tail end of that front, back in the usual place out over the high plains. Warm air advection kind of taking place over Texas and Oklahoma. Then by Thursday, some of that cold air kind of sags southward, but it's not moving very quickly because of very strong cyclogenesis there in Colorado. That's helping to kind of keep the front kind of pushed back into the central plains. So it looks like finally that pulls out over the weekend here on Saturday the 14th, and there it is. Let me draw that out for you. There's our frontal system, and now the plains are west of the surface system, so that's going to allow it to sink pretty quickly south into Texas. So Saturday, possibly showers and thunderstorms in Texas as that front comes through. Looks like some pretty good moist air advection into the Texas area. Then Sunday the 15th, looks like kind of a rainy pattern for Texas, and then for Monday the 17th, we're getting pretty far out there, but just kind of a continued pattern of prevailing highs moving southeastward. Systems coming in from the Pacific riding on top of that, and that should give us a few chances of precip in the central plains, southern plains here over the next couple of weeks. And that's about all I got. We don't have too many people on right now, but I thought it was important to at least make up for last night's absence and get a broadcast in here. And like I said, tomorrow we should be on track. I should be pretty well rested and back on a usual normal schedule here. So I appreciate you watching, and hope you'll check in again tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Take care.